He's kind of like the Count Dracula with the cape, right? And all these things exist in the cape.
Under him, yeah.
Yeah, under him, right? And I think that his voice allows him to do that. And for drill, sexy drill, because it's a pretty small space right now, he can be a person that kind of like expands it because nobody can do what he's doing in the space. And he's adding an element that other people cannot attain.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. Welcome back to Album Mode. We review a new album every single week. We look at the lyrics, the production, the overall aesthetic of the album, and how the album fits into the context of that artist's career. For everyone watching on YouTube, like this video, share it with your people, and of course, leave us a comment. Let us know how wrong we always are. On our way to 5,000 subscribers, you're helping us get there. My name is Adriel Smiley, aka AdrielSmiley.com, aka Adriel Smiley Official, aka The Godfather, and we're here with His Royal Highness, aka the Bunny, King Grant.
Welcome back, people. It's album mode. This time it's Don Toliver, Hardstone Psycho. Don Toliver, one of the artists that I've championed for years. I think since Astroworld came out, when I think it was Can't Say he was featured on it.
Yeah.
And then people were like, who is this person? It sounds crazy, blah, blah, blah. And then I feel like a lot of people, they just like kind of let it wash over them. They found out who Don Toliver was, kind of let it wash over him until his next album came out. But I was one of the people that went back, right? And I went to his earlier project and I was like, wait, hold on a second. This guy is literally one of the most underrated artists that we're bearing witness to. And then I want to say Josh. Travis Scott brought him to the forefront, and ever since that moment, basically, we Can't Say. And then when Heaven or Hell came out, he's been out here.
Yeah, that entry I think is correct for a lot of people. I first heard him on Can't Say as well, and I remember. Listen, I'm grateful that I got to meet so much interesting people. But I had a friend named Thomas who was a hardcore Don Toliver fan already at that point. And he sent me every SoundCloud link you could think of. And so almost like Charlie XCX.
Yeah.
From that point, I knew 30 Don Toliver songs just like right away.
He's like, Diamonds. Have you heard Diamonds?
Yeah. No,
Issues.
It was like a full send almost at once. And I think the place to start with Don Toliver is his last project. Because we reviewed it, and this is one of our biggest discrepancies in terms of score.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember what you gave the album?
I think I gave it a 4 or a 5.
You gave it a 3.
3. Yeah, I didn't like it. I up until that point, I was not a fan of the direction Don Toliver was going in. A little bit too much R&B for me, even though I love his voice. I think his voice is incredible. And it's the same on this album. I think his voice, we talked about it on the Charlie XCX review. His voice color is
immaculate,
second to none. Like there's not a single time. There's only one artist that you could ever say sounds similar to him, and it's Akon, right? Outside of that, Don Toliver's on a song, you know it's Don Toliver, right?
Yes,
and so his singing is incredible. I just didn't think that his direction, production and music wise, was correct, to be quite honest.
That I wanted to bring that up because he takes a very different direction on this project.
Yeah.
And I gave it an 8. I was a huge fan of that project. I probably would even rate it higher now.
Wow.
And I think that I liked that direction because there was no one really living in that lane properly. And I actually feel validated in that because the albums have come out from people who make a mix of rap and R&B.
Yeah.
Their albums weren't, Bryson Tiller wasn't really, his album didn't ride the line the way Don Toliver's did. Even Brent Faiyaz, I think his album didn't ride the line the way Don Toliver's did. So to see him do a good job of riding that line, I thought was good. I didn't know if he was going to live there. I think that's something we talked about, what he's going to do going forward. But on this project, he definitely puts the R&B behind him.
Yeah, so I guess we're gonna do production first. I guess I think that Hardstone Psycho. First of all, I don't think it even knows what it's trying to do fully, because if you go from like Bandit and Glock and even like Kryptonite, where it's more, I would say these are your traditional, to a degree, trap, hype trap songs, right?
Yeah.
More guitar usage than he's ever used, I think. Like a song like Bandit is a big time guitar song, also sampled, right? So I think that there's that. But then if you go to the bottom of the track list, now we're talking about 5 to 10, or not 5 to 10, sorry. I'm trying to find Attitude. Attitude, and even Tore Up, where it's a little, now we're doing sexy drill. He's in a sexy drill space, but then you go even further to the bottom, then he's starting to get back in 5 to 10 is the R&B bag.
Yeah, so do these discs mean anything to you? Because that was, I think, the biggest thing that I was trying to grasp is each disc have some kind of sound or some kind of tone. I do think there is something there, like for the most part.
Yeah.
There's some kind of cohesiveness with every disc. Like,
I think there is, go ahead.
Like disc 1 to disc 2 is like clearly a chain. Like disc 1 is more the like traditional trap and hype, trap. And then disc 2 is more the like singing Don Toliver in a sense. So I feel like he wanted to do different sounds. It seems,
yeah,
with this project.
It's very apparent.
And I think that's something that he was like, yeah, like that's gonna happen. Regardless.
It's interesting because I think if you listen to Donnie Wambach, it's like the top. You know, your Tore Up, Kryptonites, even like Glock is similar to that. But then as you traverse his career, then you're getting into more of like a 5 to 10, where it's what was the name of the album before? Not Lovesick, Life of a Don.
Yep.
It's more 5 to 10.
Yes.
And what was the song after?
Last
Laugh, even Inside to a degree. And then this like sexy drill space that he's existing in, he's kind of just detached. I think he's clicked up with Cash Cobain. I almost said Kurt Cobain.
Wow.
Cash Cobain. And he is existing in that at the same time. So those different discs do mean different things, clearly. I just think that Don Toliver doesn't know where he wants to be anymore. I think he did leading up to this, but now he's lost it.
I feel like we're in the same spot we were at the last review, because I don't think he has like a real space to be in. I think that like his talent is going to all these places, because I have songs that I like from all 4 of these discs.
Me too.
There's not one disc on here that I'm like, throw this whole disc out. All 4 of these discs, a disc with 4 songs on it.
Yeah.
All 4 of these discs have songs that I like. So to me, this is what I think he should be doing. As much as I loved Lovesick, I think him staying in one pocket is like a disservice to him. He's one of the few artists who's actually very good at these very different pockets. I think some of these artists, they can do it, but it's like the best stuff happens over here.
Yep.
And we've done a lot of reviews where an artist thinks that they're better at this, and we're like, no. This is where you live. I think Don Toliver almost is more self-aware than most, because he does a good job at all of these different things. And one thing I want to start with is talking about the singles, because he has been a singles artist. And now I was kind of half keeping up with the singles, because I had a feeling we were going to review this whenever the album came out.
Yeah.
And, I was invited to some of these events that he had for a single, or some of the activations he had. And I said, let me just stay away from these.
Okay.
And Bandit as a single, I think in the first place, it's the most successful of all of them. Was that something you would have chose for a single? How do you feel about that one?
I think Bandit works. I like it as a single. I think it also matches the motif that he went with the album cover.
Yes, I think that's kind of where I think it makes more sense. Hearing the whole album, I'm like, I don't know that. And also Bandit sounds very much like Yeet, which we said at the time when it came out. And maybe that's a part of it, of like, that's when 2093 was out.
Yeah.
This is the sound. It can kind of fit into the algorithm in that way. But hearing this whole project,
yeah, it's not indicative of anything else.
I don't think it is. But the other 2, I think he hit on the head completely, because Deep in the Water, one of my favorite songs. I've been playing over the past few months relentlessly. And when I heard that on this project, and I realized that this was on here, because I thought it was just a loosely, I kind of was like, oh my God. Like, so great choice there. And then Attitude with Charlie Wilson and Cash Cobain.
Yeah.
that as a single, great choice.
Yeah.
Great choice.
I would say with Attitude, he is unlocking a space right there
Mhm.
because Cash Cobain and I think Ice Spice to a degree kind of have a grip on Sexy Drill, but neither of them can sing like Don Toliver can.
No.
And I think Don Toliver's voice is kind of like a surfboard, and he just uses a surfboard to literally hop on different waves. And I think in Sexy Drill, because of how encompassing his voice is, he allows that like the drill, the tick 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 sound, like that hi-hat, that skipping hi-hat to breathe, and then having, you know, other people's samples in between it and stuff like that. Like this is a Pharrell sample.
Yeah.
So as having all these other things exist while he's kind of like the Count Dracula with the cape, right? And all these things exist in the cape.
Under him, yo.
Yeah, under him, right? And I think that his voice allows him to do that. And for drill, Sexy Drill, because it's a pretty small space right now, he can be a person that kind of like expands it because nobody can do what he's doing in the space. And he's adding an element that other people cannot attain. Right.
This is why I love
him. Expand in that way.
This is why I love him being a chameleon, because this is almost a new genre, a new subgenre that he's hopping into. This wasn't around when he made Lovesick.
Facts.
And the fact that he's coming in, and like I feel safe to say, Cash Cobain probably won't have a better song than Attitude. Like at any point. And so for him to kind of run that new genre when he's new to it, like all of us are, this shows, you know, how good he is at being a chameleon. One more song that to me should have been a single, and also this fits into production, is Brother Stone. Like this should have been a single with him and Kodak Black.
Oh, you think that should have been a single? I hated that song.
Oh no, that song was fire.
I hated it. Tell me why you think it's fire, so I can tell you why I didn't like it.
I think the beat on this one, it really gives that mid 2000s idea of like, it's one pace, and then there's just like breakdown with the bass, and the beat comes back. But I think him and Kodak Black is just two unique voices.
Yes.
In a song, like if you have a problem with certain voices in hip hop, like this might not be the song for you. But I think also this song is one of the slower actual rap songs on here. Like I think when it comes to Don Toliver doing rap songs, he likes a faster pace. He likes more up tempo. So to have this song as a uniquely slower song in a sense, I think is really cool. So to me, this is one of my favorite songs on here. And I think this is a song that I've seen a lot of people like posting this song specifically.
Yeah, well, Kodak Black's fan base is an ardent fan base, bro. They're zealots, bro.
No, they don't play around.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is something here between the two of them, and that they should work together more, because this is like a song where they both could only make this song. You rarely hear that on a feature. But this is a feature where it's like, you can't switch out either one of them. Like you do just Kodak and someone else, that's not the same. Don Toliver, no Kodak, is not the same.
Yeah, that's true.
And so for them to create that in terms of artistry, I was like, this is, Masterpiece is going too far, but it's like,
wow.
Yeah, this song's great.
Right. I'm surprised by that, because this sounded to me, what I like I would say earlier, like painting pictures of Kodak Black. I'm a big fan of Don Toliver. Overall, I would say as a musician. But this song, when I listen to it, I'm like, this sounds like an old Future song to me.
With the keys?
Yeah, that sounded like an old Future song, and it just seemed like it was.
Future would have made this worse.
You think so? I think
I think this is like a textbook Future song, actually, with the production.
I think Future would not have made a song as good as this song.
Yeah,
just on his own or with either of them. So yeah, I think this is one of the standouts.
Wow, I think this is like to me, honestly, this is like textbook like Dirty Sprite era Future featuring Kodak Black, and I'm like, he could have made this like 5 times. That's why I think. That's why I'm like
the keys are like. That's why I thought of the mid 2000s, because those keys are like that. Like remember that like ringtone rap era.
Yeah,
these keys roll more than those keys, but it is that. But I think that section where it's like almost a crescendo to the chorus and a crescendo to the bridge, where that guitar comes in, that's what makes this a Hardstone Psycho song.
Right.
And there's those elements that happen in the production here where I'm like, this is how you know he comes from the Travis Scott school of production, Travis Scott school of song making, because there's these moments on here where you're like, yeah, this is the Cactus Jack influence. I'm gonna ask you later about Cactus Jack as a
Yeah.
whole because we haven't talked about that at all in this
Yeah.
podcast. But Ice Age is basically Rest in Peace to Screw Part 2.
Oh.
And I like Rest in Peace to Screw for sure, but I can't hear this song without hearing Rest in Peace to Screw, so now we take it. Like it feels like Travis just had, the end of that song, brought it over here. I'm not mad at it, but there's a few songs on here that I'm like, these are Travis Scott songs that Don Toliver is using on his album.
I agree. So one of the things that Don Toliver went through at the beginning of his career was like his songs kind of just sound like Travis Scott songs. And I think it's getting to a point now where Don Toliver is surpassing Travis Scott when it comes to these type of songs because of their ability to make a similar song, but Don Toliver's voice sounds infinitely better than Travis Scott's.
Yep.
So it gets to a point, okay, they do the same song, but I'm like, okay, Don Toliver just by default of his singing ability sounds better on the track than Travis Scott. So when I listen to these songs, this song and like Inside, I'm like, this dude, just have Travis Scott write the Don Toliver. Just have the Travis Scott part. Just give that part to Don Toliver and make him sing that part as well. I think that for those combinations where they can exist on the same song, I think Don Toliver is surpassing him now. There are songs that Travis Scott can do that Don Toliver cannot, right? But that meeting point, Don Toliver is over him, I think.
I'm not there with you yet. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I think that Travis Scott's still the better rapper. I think the rap parts Travis Scott does better. Like on Ice Age, Don Toliver's part, I like it better than Travis Scott's part, but I don't think Don Toliver could do Travis Scott's part. Like
he could write it though. It could have been written for him though. That's the thing I'm talking about.
But it's already written for him. Like it's Sahar is already writing it. So it's like, why have a worse rapper write a part that a better rapper is already writing for you? So I think that there is that part of it where it's like, singing wise, Travis Scott is not on Don Toliver's level. Yeah. But you see the influence. Yeah. And I think that these type of songs are like, this is the Cactus Jack sound almost now. I think of a song like 4x4. That, to me, I had in my notes again, this is a Travis Scott song. Like, and songs like 4x4 are like the specific type of trap that we like and that has become accustomed to us over the past, 6 to 8 years. And, very similar to when I talked about Party Next Door, I have not seen anyone imitate this sound successfully, consistently. True. And I think that there's clearly better singers and better rappers than Travis Scott and Don Toliver. So when I think about that, like, it's like these guys are both not the best singer or the best rapper, but the sound they've created is so unique that it still hits for them. Yeah. Like these two songs, as much as I'm saying, like I've heard these songs before, there's similar songs I heard before, I'm giving them credit because how long ago was Can't Say? Right. And have we seen someone else do what Can't Say? Because there's much better singers out there and we still haven't seen it. So I'm giving them the credit because to double down on your sound album after album and people still aren't able to imitate it, I think is commendable. Yeah, that's a big deal. I would say here's something that I think most people will find surprising by me. Disc 4, which I like to call R&B Don Toliver. I was liking that a lot. I thought it sounded really good. I think Inside, again, just have Don Toliver sing the Travis Scott part. But 5 to 10, I liked a lot. Last Laugh. Last Laugh's a banger. I liked a lot. Hardstone National Anthem, not as much. Yeah. But those three in the R&B space, I was there. I arrived there with you guys. I'm not gonna lie, I'm super here for Ballad Don Toliver. That's probably like the part of my musical taste that people don't know about is like those like Don Toliver auto-tune ballads. Yeah. Like I'm here for those. So talking about disc 4, like yeah. So it was a good time, I got the last laugh. I was in there. I love that song. I was in there. So I think that I don't know if it's me coming around to him or he's finally unlocking something when it comes to the R&B space for Don Toliver. But I was in there. And I think that
when you go to the multiple discs,
Mhm.
you're able to see, it's like a prism. You're seeing multiple, like, reflections of Don Toliver. And I think for most of the songs, it does work.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe an issue of cohesion when it comes to his music now,
Mhm.
where it's kind of like almost like Drake, where it's like, cool, you can do all these things, but like, when is it going to all come together into one thing and become kind of like an accordion, right? Where you can see all the ridges, but they're stuck together. Right.
Yeah, I think that is something that I don't know if he has a problem, because I do think these last two projects are the best he's done at that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that's something that's like probably never gonna happen.
Yeah. It's possible though. It's like we're just talking about Charlie XCX and we're talking about grime, EDM, house, and like if you're in the same genre, I think it's possible.
It's possible, but I think that him doing that like trap sound, he's too good at that. He doesn't always do an R&B version of the trap sound.
Yeah,
he can make you really feel like you're in a trap and you're really going up. And I think having that on the same album with a song like Last Laugh, it's like, how many artists can give you a real like slowdown of Last Laugh and then a real hype of the earlier stuff? Because Gunna's the other person I think of who does a bit of both of those.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think Gunna, his hype songs feel more smooth and not as like hype. When
yeah. That's totally
Don Toliver can get you like
it's a party.
He can get you really, really raging. I was going back to this old album. I think about Swangin' on Westminster. That like slower Don Toliver is some of my favorite of him. But before we get to lyrics, what sound is your favorite from Don Toliver? Like, of all these sounds he does, is there like one that you're like, hey, this is the Don Toliver I want to hear?
I think the party trap version of him is still the best version, because it's just like, I've been to a Don Toliver concert when we were Rolling Loud.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Rolling Loud Toronto.
Saw someone in a Rolling Loud t-shirt yesterday.
I should have worn my sweater, because it's too fucking hot to wear the sweater.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're in Canada. It's like what, 35 degrees or some shit like that outside.
Severe heat warning.
But yeah, I think the party trap version of him is just next level. Because I remember even personally listening to his music, and I feel like I want to go crazy in my own house. I remember dating somebody at the time when the first, is it Deal or No Deal or whatever the first one's called?
Yeah.
And I was like sending it to the person I was dating. She's like, "You listen to this just like at your house?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, I can't do this shit unless it's at a party." So there's this element of just this like elevation of like whatever it is, like your dopamine, and you just feel like you just want to jump, right? And I think that's the best version of him. I think the second best version is the drill version. Glock and Attitude. I think those songs can be a big deal for him going forward.
You know what? You may be onto something. I hate to say it, but you might be right. You might be right on this one. I think personally, my favorite is the like R&B rap mix Don Toliver. I still think that's like, he has a unique place there. But personally, I like when he does these albums that have everything. Like he's one of those artists I'm not asking him to have a cohesive sound. I think even in my mind, comparing him to Drake is like, for a lot of the last part of Drake's career, like the rap songs are some of my least favorite songs on the projects. And that hasn't always been the case for Drake. Before it was the other way around. Yeah. Where it's like if your R&B songs are still quality, but your rap songs are like mid, let's just, Don Toliver is still like, everything is good.
Yeah, everything is still pretty good. Everything is like an A-.
Yeah, like, and then he has like one or two of you sound like it becomes an A+. Yeah. But it's like consistently an A-. What do you have for lyrics for him? Because
for lyrics,
I didn't have any lyrics, because I started looking for lyrics. I was going to Genius. I had some songs that I had thought of, and I actually like pulled up the lyrics, put them in my document, and I said, "Am I really about to do this?" So I'm excited to see what you have, because Don Toliver to me is very much from that Travis Scott school where lyrics do not matter. Yeah, it is strictly vibes.
Yeah, exactly. I think for lyrics, I had a couple of things down just to demonstrate like how he's like using his vocals or how he's melding with like the song. on Glock where he's in that background, you have like the Whitney Houston sample, right? I think it's here. I have it written down. It's like "Waiting to Exhale" is the song, or the film is "Waiting to Exhale," right? And she has a song from on the soundtrack, and you hear like doing the shoot, right? And then in the outro where Don Toliver himself is like doing the shoot. When I pull up on the block, I shoot, right? So he has the Whitney backing, and then he's also doing the shoot himself too. So I think that's cool. I think that his hooks are really, really good.
Yes.
His hooks are really good. Charlie XCX hooks are also really good. I just want to add that. It's like his this is on 4x4 where you can hear like the woo, like when he makes that woo sound, right? And then in the chorus is like woo haha, right? 4x4, I'm back on road. I'm back on go. Woo damn. 4x4, we back in mode. A little bitch, we back from mo. I think that his hooks are great. I think like his call and response is really good. When it comes to like lyrics, Don Toliver's not that dude. Okay? And that's okay. That's okay. I was just here on the Charlie XCX pod saying less words. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm a avid Playboi Carti fan, right? I'm a Daft Punk fan. So the words don't need to be super important if you're making it so that it fits the song and it's it sounds great. We love Future here. It's okay.
We love Future. No, I think too. It's like he's not someone I'm looking for him to be more deep lyrically, because I think what he does have that has made him one of my favorite artists of this new generation is he has emotion in his voice.
Yeah, his voice is so good. Man.
And I think like there's songs where he does have some songs where he gets more deep, says some things. Last Laugh is one of them. But the emotion in his voice has always been there for those songs. And that mixed with the production, it's like these songs have a soul, even if he's not getting deep lyrically. But before we talk about what this means for his career.
Wait, so you have no lyrics?
I'm not. It's a Don Toliver. Like, I think it would hurt my score to look at lyrics.
Okay.
So let's just. No, that's what I'm listening to right now.
The 404, man.
And Cactus Jack as a label.
Okay.
I think that we haven't really talked about them as much, from the beginning, because they had that group project, which was actually really good.
Yeah, it was pretty solid.
Actually really good. At number one. But for anyone who's unfamiliar, started in 2017. It includes Travis Scott himself, Sheck West, Don Toliver, Soulfago, and Chase B.
Oh, Soulfago.
Yeah, I did not know that. And formerly included Smoke Perp.
Okay.
But right now, Don Toliver is basically carrying the label.
Absolutely.
On his back.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that? Because I think Travis Scott was someone who, because of his ear, who he'd work with, that people had high hopes for what his label could be and the artists he could bring through. Like, listen, he's 1 for 1 on Don Toliver, for sure.
Absolutely.
All of his artists do have hits.
Soulfago.
So, he has that, but basically it's just Don Toliver.
Yeah, I think that for Cactus Jack, first of all, artist discovery is hard, especially in 2024 where basically you're just like standing at a fire hydrant trying to find the lemonade. You're trying to find the lemonade coming out of the water in the fire hydrant, basically. And I think it's super hard. Then also, Travis Scott is still an active artist. I think a lot of artists, when they start their own label, they don't understand that being a label head is a full-time job. Yeah. Like, that's a full-time job, determining, marketing. Because you're thinking about what's the marketing for the artist, what's the A&R for the artist, can we get the product, what's the sound for them?
Hiring a staff for the artist.
Hiring the staff for the artist, and then that's all going. And then you're like, okay, now let's turn to my art. And, okay, what is my sound? I spent all these hours trying to help the other artists with their sound. What is my sound anymore? Then you end up like having these synonymous styles and stuff like that. So when it comes to Cactus Jack with Travis Scott was taking a little bit of a break. Let's say a forced break.
Yeah.
he can have time to work on something like Don Toliver, but now you're talking about 5 people. Like that shit's hard to do.
And I think what this proves is like, you know, growing up when people said like, what crew would you be a part of? I grew up Rockefeller. Okay. I that's the crew that I would have been associated with.
Okay.
Growing up from what I was listening to. And hearing those old Rockefeller stories of Jay and Dame saying that some of these guys were putting the work in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I could try and give you the record deal, but you have to build the buzz. You have to make the records. Same with 50 talking about guys on his label. And I've always thought about that going forward because we're in an era where almost like you don't have to be the biggest artist to have a label.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very normal thing now. I think about Brent Faiyaz having Tommy Richmond under his label. And it's like, normally Brent Faiyaz would not have been big enough
that's so true.
to have a label. But now it's like very, very common. And Don Toliver has shown more than his consistency is that he can do this on his own. Like it's not his only popular song is a Travis Scott feature.
Facts.
And I think that is something that we've almost taken for granted because they still work so closely together. They're always on each other's projects. They always have songs together. But it's almost like a treat in a sense, like someone you mentioned, Drake with Lil Wayne, where it's like Drake got to a point where he didn't need Wayne to have a hit.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, he can't face on his own. But when him and Wayne work together, it's a treat that we enjoy. That's how I feel about Don Toliver. He's shown that he can stand on his own too, to the point where I often forget that he's part of Cactus Jack.
Yeah, facts.
It's like, so I think that's a success. Sheck West, Sofago, Chase B. Chase B has had success. I think there was supposed to be a Chase B album coming a few years ago, which never ended up happening. I'm sure that's still in the works in some way. He's more in the content game now than anything. Sheck West has been getting into fashion, apparently. And I don't know when we're gonna hear any music from him. Sofago.
Yeah.
I'm not tapped in to tell you what Sofago is doing or not doing. He could have put out 40 songs yesterday, and I couldn't tell you. But I think the main kind of takeaway from what Cactus Jack has been over the past, since it seems to, what is that, 7 years, is that they still have a lot of growth. We can't include them in any of these label talks and go label versus label. They're not there yet.
Yeah.
And let's go back in time to the early 2010s with MMG. And that was the prime of when it was MMG, good music, Odd Future. And everyone was kind of in their group with their clique, TDE, of course. Cactus Jack is not there yet. Cactus Jack has a little way to go before they can wage war against another label. So
but
I'm waiting to see.
But Don Toliver is kind of bigger than anybody's like second on those labels. Maybe it's like SZA is larger than him, but he's kind of he's kind of bigger than anybody else. I'm curious, although we would never know this. I'm like, what his deal is like, because I'm like, why at this point he should not, respectfully, at this point he should not be a part of Cactus Jack. He should
have his own label.
He should be signed with like Atlantic or
well,
Republic
I'm sure it's a joint deal. Like most of these labels is like.
Yeah, but a joint deal means that 2 people are getting a cut from your album, you know.
No, for sure, but
so I'm just surprised. You know, I'm surprised to a degree because I'm like, he seems so much bigger than to be part of, you know, an equivalent of like OVO or TDE or something like that. Just you can be big enough.
I would say that he should stay with Cactus Jack because I think he's in that middle ground of like his music is widely recognized. But his face isn't yet.
I don't know. You've seen that meme? Everybody knows what Don Toliver looks like now.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. That was pretty fucking rough. But I think there's a lot of group of people who like know his songs but couldn't point him out. And I don't think I think he has a unique look in a way. Yeah. But I think people are like more know his songs in his face. Yeah. Travis Scott is like, you see the silhouette of the braids and you're like, yeah, that's
A$AP Rocky.
Yo, listen, I'm not involved. I'm not involved. Is this a no skips?
I would say no, just because there's so many different genres that are happening that if you're like, oh yeah, I'm really vibing with this one part, and then it ends, and you're like, wait, what? And then you're trying to get back to it. There's a couple of songs that I'm just like largely not a fan of, which I mentioned. So I would say no, it's not a no skips.
Yeah, not a no skips for me either. I do think it's close. I do think there's like, you know, trim a couple off of here, get yourself a no skips album. But as it is, not a no skips. In terms of what this means for his career, I think this is a big plus.
Yeah?
I think that from what I've seen this online on social media, I think Attitude is almost like a viral hit in a way that he hasn't really had before.
Mhm.
And the love I've seen for that song is insane.
Yeah, it's through the roof.
Insane. I like that song a lot, but people
That's a cult song though, because it's Charlie Wilson and Cash Cobain.
No, it's like that's like for the culture.
Yeah.
So people love that song a lot. Deep in the Water is one of my favorite Travis Scott songs. One of my favorite Don Toliver songs of all time. So for him to make a song that is gonna make my like Don Toliver playlist, is pretty cool. So to me, this is a plus for his career just because there's some songs on here that I think are gonna be people's favorite Don Toliver song of all time. And I think that him having that at this point in his career is pretty rare because he's had a lot of hits.
Yeah, No Idea. It's still crazy.
Yeah, a lot of great records that go up like at concerts and festivals. But I would say like there's probably like 3 or 4, maybe 5 songs on here that I've seen people really, really show love to that I think, again, will be someone's favorite Don Toliver song. And when you have like 5 of those on an album,
yeah, it's a big deal.
That's a big deal. So this is a big plus for his career.
Yeah, I think it's a plus. I don't know if a big plus. I think that he is established for sure. I think this is just another notch in the belt for him. I think that a song like Attitude, especially if Sexy Drill becomes a larger genre, would be a big deal because he would be like one of the people where like I recognized it early.
Yes.
I think that there's no monster hit though, which he has been a hit maker in the past. And I think that go ahead.
No. Well, you said no monster hit. I don't know if we know the answer to that yet. That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I think Bandit's probably the closest, but that's kind of it at this point. Maybe a song will catch on and become a TikTok thing because his songs seem to do well on TikTok.
Yeah, because why I wanted to bring up the not a big hit thing is the big hit from his last album was Private Landing, with Justin Bieber and Future, which social media really took that to places it wasn't supposed to go. But for the most part, he's very similar to Roddy Ricch, where his listenership is consistent.
That's true.
And like almost every song on his albums is a song that people are like aware of or they know of. So I think this album falls into that, and that the single, but the big hit will be something that the fans choose. And it will be one of those where the fans, build up whatever song it is.
Yeah.
So I think this is a big plus for him.
He also releases music pretty frequently now, and also I think this is gonna maybe to me this like overshadowed Lovesick. Like Lovesick doesn't even exist. It's like if you go from Life of a Don to this, I feel like Lovesick kind of existed briefly, but then it kind of like on the shadows.
It's interesting you say that because I guess you didn't love Lovesick.
Yeah,
but a lot of people I heard talk about Lovesick at the end of last year when everyone's doing their year-end albums. Lovesick came up a lot, and people were saying like, "I've listened to the album all year." I think to me, I think Lovesick is actually the album where people became like full-time fans. Life of a Don was one where people had songs that they loved, and then some songs that they weren't too much into. But as a whole, they were like, "He's still good." But Lovesick is the one where, from what I've seen, people have been listening to that consistently over and over again, which I don't know if will be the case with this because there's so much different sounds. But I think he's in a really good spot. Okay. Let's talk about the cover.
Let's talk. I was alarmed when I first saw it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was alarmed. I was seeing a lot of black and white, and I was seeing a cross that did not look let's say kosher. It did not look kosher. On first inspection.
No, I understand your fear.
Right? So I was alarmed. I was getting let's say I was getting Kanye vibes. Late stage Kanye vibes. So I was a little bit nervous. But upon close inspection, everything is okay. Everything is okay.
That would be a crazy left for him to take. Like I get what you're saying now looking at it, but just like I guess also seeing all the press that the team's been doing.
Yeah.
I was like, this would just be so left.
Yeah, it would be left, but Kanye's thing was happening. It was a little bit left, but anyways.
Yeah.
So I would say it's okay. I never really associate Don Toliver with like a metal motif, motorcycle motif. Like his music is not like that in any sort of way. I would associate him more with like a muscle car or something like that. Yeah. And we're talking about vehicles.
Yes.
So I think that's a little bit of a misstep. And also the music doesn't sound like anything like the cover. Like we were just talking about Charlie XCX, where we're like, yeah, this makes total sense. I'm like, I don't get why he's going for this. Bandit is the only song that really sounds like it.
Yeah, I think like it does sound like the cover.
Yeah.
Compared to his previous music. Like if you took what he did like the past 2-3 albums and you like leatherified it, then it makes sense.
Okay.
But I think just on its face, and again, I think we are coming from a large like musical catalog where it's like if you're a hip hop fan and like you're other than Don Toliver listen to like the new Meek Mill and Moneybagg Yo, then this maybe fits more to you.
Okay.
But I actually like this cover. I think it's just a big change from the last project in terms of a theme and a look, which I think I've seen him do now a few times.
It looks good. Like, if we were just like, is this a good picture? I'd be like, yes. But then when we add the context, I'm like, I don't understand the significance to everything else.
Yeah, I didn't really catch the like Hardstone Psycho thing that he was trying to give us. And I think that like what he's doing here is like going for these themes and ideas regardless of if the music matches. Yeah. Because lyrically, like he's in a place where it's like whatever theme you give us is whatever theme you give us. That make any sense? Yeah. And so maybe sonically he's trying to lean more towards this. But in a sense, it's like lyrically like maybe Lovesick and Life of Dawn was a little more reflective. Yeah. And Lovesick is more the R&B vibes. And I guess this album is more like I do what I want, bravado energy at certain points. But lyrically, he's in a very similar spot. And so it's like, I don't get this like, hardcore leather attitude. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's more like just an aesthetic. Yeah. Which is like, that aesthetic is the one that works. Yeah. But I again, compared to the music, I don't know if it fits, but I like the cover. Okay. So the moment we've all been waiting for. We didn't even talk about a vinyl cop for Charlie XCX. And Charlie would be a vinyl cop. Yeah, that's a vinyl cop. Probably would be a vinyl cop. But for Don Toliver, do you think it's a vinyl cop? I actually would. Really? Wow. I'm genuinely surprised by that. I actually would. For 2 reasons. I like that it's split up into discs. I feel like that helps it in the vinyl category because that's actually how vinyls are done. But I think that there's enough songs on here that on vinyl would really slap. Like that last disc, Inside 5 to 10 Last Laugh. That on vinyl, I would love to hear that. A voice like his on vinyl, like, again, I tell you, recently on vinyl, I've been listening to Childish Gambino, Anderson .Paak. Okay. So to hear a Don Toliver voice on vinyl, like that, I think that would cut through. So vinyl cop for me. Yeah, I don't think so personally. I don't think there's enough stuff in sequence that I like because that's like for me the main point of listening to a vinyl record is like I just put it on and you can really run all the way through. Yeah. So I would say no vinyl cop. So Adriel, the moment we've all been waiting for real now. Yeah. Hardstone Psycho. Don Toliver. What is your score, Adriel? Don Toliver, Hardstone Psycho. This one's at 8.5. Wow. For me. Yo, you are so much more up on Don Toliver than me, even though I feel like I'm a bigger fan of Don Toliver, like the artist, than you. Maybe more of a groupie. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. No, I rock with Don Toliver heavy. I think he's extremely unique. I think he's kind of pushing the genre forward with almost everything that he drops. And I think this is, also part of it. This is the album of all the albums I've released the past like 2 weeks. This album I listen to the most just for like pure pleasure. Okay. And so for me, the only reason it's not a 9 is because I do think that like there's not really a theme, cohesiveness on here. Like he's talking about his life the same. There's no like, now that I'm famous, things are different. Like there's none of that on here. Lyrically, it's basically the same as it's always been. Yeah. But I think that like there are 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 songs that I don't have as my liked songs on here. Okay. 5 songs, sorry. 5 songs. Oh. 11 out of 16. Mm-hmm. Like that doesn't sound very 8.5ish to me. and I think that my like proximity to his rollout is part of why like I sound like Bandit I don't have on here or tore up. But I really feel like this is a really good project, and I feel like he is in that group even more than a Harry Styles or Ariana Grande, where his mid songs are better than some people's mid songs.
That's true.
His mid songs are the best mid songs.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this with like Drake and stuff before, and Taylor Swift. Competence. The competence level is very high. Right. There's very few songs that are like, this is trash. Like that doesn't really exist.
And he probably makes some of the best mid songs of anyone. Like if we're being real, like
I love that.
No, honestly, like if you put him against all artists, all genres, like their mid song, he's gonna rank super high. And so for me, I gotta give him credit for that. That means
even
something.
Chris is like, what is he talking about?
Okay, you know when someone makes a mid song and you're like, I don't want to hear this. Like it's boring. He can have a mid song that is still interesting or good to listen to.
Okay.
When a Drake mid song is like, okay, I've heard this before. Okay. But before you
8.5, he said, by the way. This is what
I'm standing on that.
8.5.
Brother Stone.
Okay.
Anyways, before you get to your score, who do you think has more monthly listeners? Don Toliver or Charlie XCX?
Don Toliver. Don Toliver, because he has multiple. Remember, No Idea went viral 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
And then he also has the songs with Travis Scott. Yeah. Charlie XCX is doing solo work, okay? She's an artiste.
Okay. Okay, now we've lost it. She's an artiste.
She's an artiste, okay?
The answer is Don Toliver. That's correct.
Okay, so for me, Hardstone Psycho by Don Toliver, this is a 7 out of 10. I think it's good. Okay, I think it's good, and it's for me a huge step up from Lovesick, but that's just me.
Yeah,
I like I listened to Life of a Don recently, and I was like, this shit slaps crazy. I was going.
Did we review Life of a Don?
I think we did. I think we did, but I also gave it like a 7.5 or something. Like it's more of an 8-ish.
I'll check what score you gave it while you do that.
So this for me is a 7. I think his ability to traverse different genres is a big plus. I do think that I wish he figured out a way to get them to connect, because the genres of music he's traversing are connected, but he has not figured out the way to connect them, where you can just drop an album that's, what is this? This is 16 songs. Charlie XCX, I hate that I keep comparing them, but like there's other albums that are 16 to 15 songs long, and there's a cohesive movement between the genres, what is actually being talked about in the lyrics and stuff like that. And he has not been able to grip that for this album. I think that his singing, again, is kind of like one of a kind. Can't really, again, Akon is the closest person to him vocally, and he is killing Akon vocally, right?
For sure.
And I think that, but the drawback is like his lyrics are literally the most cookie cutter lyrics, maybe like next to like Gunna right now.
I would say more than Gunna.
Right. So that's the problem. But I think that the lyrics are not super important, right? Like as what it sounds like, what his music sounds like is the most important. I think we compared him more to like T-Pain than any other artist. So, but T-Pain can write a song.
T-Pain's a hitmaker.
T-Pain can write a song. So that's where I kind of exist with him when it comes to the lyrics. Like it's a back and forth. So it's a 7 out of 10. I think it's good. I'm looking forward to more Sexy Drill. I would love to hear him in that space more.
Yeah, I think this is a good project.
Yeah.
And this, at least for me, is his third good project in a row. Life of a Don, you gave it an 8.5.
Okay, I'm still there. I love that album.
I gave it an 8. I think that he's one of those artists who, again, his competence level is up there with the big pop stars. Yeah. But I think because of the type of music he makes, even his, again, mid songs are just more interesting. So I that being still the case, I like, and we haven't had an album where he's made some crazy attempt at a different sound, and we've had to like really dissect it because, you know, even on this project, Attitude, different from any song he's basically almost ever made. Yeah. And we think he killed it. Yeah, that's true. And so the fact that we're taking that for granted, it feels like, that's what I've noticed with this project is like, he's just so good, we're just used to it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like someone else would try this and would fall on their face, and we would make it 10 minutes of the podcast. and it's like, yep, he's great at this too.
Yeah.
Let's just move on. So I like that he's established that level of excellence that we're just like, no, it's normal to us at this point. I'm very, very excited for what he has in store. I want to know what everyone has to say in the comments. All the Don Toliver fans, all the Cactus Jack people, all the Travis Scott fans. I'm sorry that I almost called Don Toliver Travis Scott. I know that made your heart hurt a little bit inside. I apologize for that. But let me know in the comments. Of course, find us on YouTube at Album Mode, on Instagram at Album Mode Pod, on Twitter at Album Mode Pod, on TikTok at Album Mode Pod. On your podcast platforms, leave us a rating and a review. If you want to see Album Mode get up those rankings, that's how we do it. Leave us a rating and a review. 5 stars, not a single star less. And of course, until next time, know yourself, know your worth.
Later days.